Every morning, without realizing it, you make a decision that defines the rest of your day. To truly wake up, or to keep sleeping with your eyes open. I'm not talking about opening your eyelids. I'm talking about that silent way of living on autopilot, moving without direction, repeating routines that lead nowhere. Because losing your way doesn't happen suddenly. It happens the moment you stop beginning your days with intention. Most people wake up rushing, check their phone before taking a breath, and hand their mind over to the world's chaos before even remembering who they are. And that's how the spiral begins. Messages, tasks, comparisons, anxiety. Your mind no longer belongs to you. You gave it away before your first sip of water. But a Stoic doesn't start the day reacting. A Stoic starts the day directing, because if you don't take control at dawn, the whole day will be controlled by others. You wake up, but you don't awaken. You move, but you don't advance. You work, but you don't grow. That's the most common symptom of modern man, productivity without purpose. And there's nothing emptier than that. If you're here, it's probably because something inside you no longer wants to keep running without meaning. There's an inner noise asking for silence, order, clarity. And that clarity isn't found through more effort, it's found through rituals. Small acts that anchor the mind, that remind the soul of its direction. 5 Stoic rituals that are not magic, but they are powerful, because they give back to your day the meaning that noise stole. The first one happens before you even open your eyes completely. The ritual of conscious thought. Don't grab your phone, don't look at the clock. Stay still and ask yourself, who do I want to be today? Not, what do I have to do, but who? Because when you decide who you will be, everything you do afterward has purpose. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every morning. He wrote, "Today I shall meet ungrateful, foolish, selfish people, yet I will still act with justice and temperance." That was his shield before stepping into the world. The second ritual is to breathe with intention, not to calm yourself, but to govern yourself. Inhale for 6 seconds, exhale for 6. Do it 8 times. That 1 minute of control over your breathing is the first minute of control over your mind. Because whoever masters their breath, masters their reaction. And whoever masters their reaction, masters their destiny. The third ritual is conscious gratitude. Not the empty cliché of thank you for everything, but the act of looking around and recognizing what you actually have under your control. Sometimes it's your health. Sometimes it's your body that still responds. Sometimes it's simply your ability to try again. Gratitude doesn't deny chaos, but it balances it. Seneca wrote, "The wise man rejoices in what he has, without grieving over what he does not possess." That isn't resignation, it's strength. Because whoever values what they have cannot be manipulated by what they lack. The fourth ritual is silence. 10 minutes without music, without distractions, without screens. Just you and your mind. It's the moment you realize what truly weighs inside you, what you avoid thinking, what you're afraid to feel. Silence isn't comfortable, but it's where the soul tells the truth. And when you learn to listen to yourself, you stop begging for advice. Because most people don't need more information. They need silence to hear what they already know. And the fifth ritual is the written commitment. Take a piece of paper, a note, a notebook, and write one simple phrase. Today I will act with, followed by one virtue. Temperance, courage, prudence, justice, no more than one word. Then read it before stepping out the door. That act centers you. It reminds you that you're not here just to produce, but to live with purpose. 5 rituals, 5 anchors to keep you from getting lost. And yet, most people avoid them. Not because they don't work, but because they're too simple for a mind addicted to noise. But self-respect is built through quiet repetition, not grand gestures. Every morning is an opportunity to start again, not symbolically, truly. When you open your eyes and choose not to surrender to chaos, you reclaim your power. And that power shows. You feel it in your voice, in your calm, in the way you walk. Because direction isn't lost in a single day. It's lost when you forget to begin with intention. And finding it again doesn't require a miracle, just these 5 gestures. Breathe. Be grateful. Write. Keep silent. Choose who you will be. That's all. But doing it every day changes everything. The world won't wait for you. It will demand, distract, and shout for you to hurry. But you can pause. You can decide that your morning doesn't belong to the world, it belongs to you. And when you manage that, you'll understand why the Stoics began the day by speaking with their minds before anyone else. Because they knew that if the morning wasn't yours, the rest of the day wouldn't be either. Maybe you think you don't have time. But the truth is, you don't have direction. What you lack isn't hours, it's purpose. That's why you're here, to reclaim it. Wake up tomorrow and do this. Not out of discipline, but out of respect. Because if you don't give yourself 10 minutes to reconnect with yourself, the world will steal the next 23 hours. And every day you repeat this ritual, you'll resemble less the person you were yesterday and more the one you're destined to become. You don't need to change the world. You only need to start each day without getting lost in it. That's the difference between the wise and the distracted. The wise begin with direction. The distracted begin with distractions. And no, it's not about waking up at 5 or repeating empty phrases in front of a mirror. It's about creating a system of mental order before opening the door to chaos. Because the world doesn't ask how you are, it pushes you. And if you're not steady, it sweeps you away. The first ritual, conscious thought, is more powerful than you imagine. It's not just a motivational phrase, it's programming for the soul. When you choose who you want to be before facing the day, you're creating an invisible filter that directs your responses. If you choose to be patient when something goes wrong, your mind remembers that choice and responds with calm. If you choose to be just, you don't react with revenge, you respond with clarity. That daily choice is the training of your character. Marcus Aurelius did it every morning because he knew that without inner direction, the soul scatters like dust. The question, "Who do I want to be today?" may seem small, but it's the seed of an entire day lived in coherence. The second ritual, conscious breathing, is the bridge between body and mind. Many think control begins with decisions, but it begins with the pulse. When you breathe with intention, you're teaching your body that there's no threat. You're giving your nervous system a silent command. I'm here, I'm present, I'm in control. No emotion can dominate you if you master the rhythm of your breath. The Stoics understood that, and so did the warriors. Slow breathing isn't relaxation, it's reclaiming command. Then comes gratitude, the third ritual, which many confuse with conformity. But Stoic gratitude doesn't ignore reality, it observes it, and chooses not to suffer over what cannot be changed. Seneca said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future." When you practice gratitude, you're recognizing what you already have under your control. And that simple act changes the frequency of your thoughts. No chaotic mind can survive when it begins the day with genuine gratitude. It's impossible to feel fear and gratitude at the same time. That's why the Stoics practiced it, because gratitude deactivates complaint and frees energy for action. The fourth ritual, silence, is the hardest, because we live in an age that fears emptiness. We think silence is loss, when in reality, it's power. In silence, the mind reveals its noise. You sit down, undistracted, and the first things that appear are what you've been avoiding. Anxiety, insecurity, unfinished thoughts, buried emotions. But if you stay there, without running away, something begins to align on its own. The noise unravels, and what remains is a clear voice, your true voice. Not your fears, not other people's expectations. That voice is your compass. And if you don't listen to it in the morning, you'll spend the rest of the day listening to everyone else's. And then comes the fifth ritual, the written commitment. It's not about filling pages with affirmations, it's about choosing one word to carry with you, a virtue, a guide. It could be temperance, courage, discipline, justice, or compassion. That word becomes your mirror. When the day gets chaotic, you'll return to it. When the ego wants to take over, you'll remember what you wrote. And without realizing it, that simple act of writing becomes a contract with yourself. A silent but unbreakable commitment. 5 rituals, 5 anchors, 5 ways to return to yourself. The problem isn't that you don't know what to do, it's that you forgot how to begin. You don't need motivation, you need rituals. Because motivation comes and goes, but rituals remain. They don't depend on how you feel, but on who you decide to be. And that's the secret. Don't let your emotional state decide how your day begins. Let your rituals decide. The human mind needs structure. Without it, it seeks stimulation. And stimulation doesn't give direction, it only distracts. That's why so many live exhausted but empty. They work, they produce, they respond, but they don't grow. Because their day never began with intention, only with reaction. Every morning is a battle between noise and clarity. And victory is decided in the first 10 minutes. That's where you choose whether the day will drag you or obey you. So when you wake up tomorrow, remember this. Your first action doesn't define your schedule, it defines your direction. Imagine waking up and starting with calm, breathing before looking at your phone, thinking before speaking, being grateful before complaining, writing before rushing. That 1 minute of awareness is worth more than any productivity plan. Because what makes a day valuable isn't how much you do, but from where you do it. These rituals aren't a luxury, they're a form of spiritual survival. The soul dries up in haste, but it blooms in attention. And when you live with attention, everything changes. Conversations become more honest, decisions become firmer, the mind becomes quieter. You're not looking for a new routine. You're remembering your nature. The human being needs rituals as much as nourishment. Without them, he becomes disordered, empty, forgetful. And when you forget who you are, anything external can define you. So tomorrow, when you wake up, don't start the day by seeking what's missing. Start by reconnecting with what's already there. You, your breath, your intention, your calm. There lies everything you need to stay on course. There comes a moment when everything clicks. It doesn't happen on a specific morning or a marked date. It happens when, after repeating your rituals for several days, something inside you shifts. You start to notice that the noise that once invaded you is still there, but now it surrounds you, it no longer touches you. You begin to sense a different rhythm in your days, that conversations feel lighter, that your decisions no longer come from impulse but from calm. That's what rituals do. They don't change the world, they change the way you inhabit it. When you practice conscious thought upon waking, your mind stops being a victim of circumstances and becomes the architect of your days. You begin to choose responses instead of reactions. And every time you choose, you strengthen the invisible muscle of self-discipline. That's true freedom, not doing whatever you want, but wanting what you do because it aligns with your values. Stoic rituals don't aim to make you feel less, they aim to make sure no emotion rules you. Over time, those 5 morning gestures stop feeling like effort and become identity. You no longer ask yourself if you feel like doing them, you do them because they've become your natural way to begin. Your body asks for them, your mind appreciates them, your soul recognizes them, and at that point, you recover something you'd lost without realizing it: control over your direction. There's no worse feeling than moving without progressing. And yet, that's where most people live. They chase meaningless goals, accumulate tasks, race against the clock. But running without direction is the most elegant way to get lost. That's why the Stoics spoke of euthymia, that inner peace that comes from living according to one's purpose. Seneca described it as not being distracted by the paths that others choose. That's the serenity you gain when your mornings begin with you, not the world. Rituals don't make you perfect, they make you present. And in a world addicted to distraction, being present is already a form of greatness. You realize you don't need to control what happens, you only need to control yourself. And that changes your relationship with everything: your work, your partner, your thoughts, yourself. Because you start to act from your center, not from your lack, from clarity, not reaction, from calm, not fear. You breathe, observe, choose again, and again. And every morning becomes a small training for life. You train patience when you breathe. You train humility when you give thanks. You train temperance when you sit in silence. You train justice when you decide who you'll be. And you train coherence when you write your intention. That daily repetition isn't boring, it's sacred. Each day you repeat it, you strengthen your mind. Each day you skip it, you weaken a little. The human soul needs habits to remind it of its power, because without reminders, noise corrupts it. That's why rituals aren't optional, they are the foundation of inner respect. When you honor them, the day aligns. When you neglect them, chaos returns. It's that simple and that profound. Sometimes someone will ask why you stay so calm when others lose control. They won't understand that your calm wasn't luck. It was practice. It wasn't spontaneous. It was built. That serenity you carry isn't improvised, it's trained, and the rituals are that invisible training. While others sleep in noise, you awaken in silence. While others chase stimulation, you seek purpose. And while the world runs, you choose to move with meaning. That's the most powerful effect of these 5 rituals. They don't make you invulnerable, they make you invincible from within. Not because you don't feel fear, but because fear no longer rules you. Not because you don't feel pressure, but because it no longer breaks you. That's the difference between living reactively and living with direction. Life stops being a constant fight and becomes a conscious practice. And then, without realizing it, you change. You no longer check your phone when you wake up because you know your peace isn't there. You no longer compare yourself because you've learned to admire without envy. You no longer rush because you've understood that what matters isn't arriving fast, it's arriving clear. You no longer seek validation, because every morning you already give it to yourself. Each ritual is a conversation with your mind. And that mind, little by little, stops being your enemy and becomes your ally. It's curious, when you govern yourself, the world seems to change. People respect you more, not because you convince them, but because you radiate differently. Your words carry more weight, your gestures speak louder, your presence feels stronger. That's what happens when you begin each day in coherence. External respect becomes a reflection of inner respect. People may not understand it, but they sense it. Respect isn't taught, it's emanated. That's how real change begins. Not with speeches or resolutions, but with 5 gestures no one sees. 5 minutes of silence, 5 deep breaths, 1 written word, 1 conscious choice. Small actions that, when repeated, transform your destiny. Because direction isn't regained through grand plans, but through small acts done with intention. At first, you do it because you want to improve. Then, because it brings you peace. And with time, because you no longer know how to live any other way. That's when you understand what the Stoics meant. The disciplined man is truly free. Because you no longer depend on chaos to feel alive, nor on others to feel worthy. You are enough. And when you are enough, nothing is missing, and nothing is in excess. Most people live waiting for a great change. A new year, a sign, an opportunity. But great changes don't arrive like storms, they arrive like sunrises. Slow, gentle, but inevitable. And if you don't learn to notice your mornings, you'll spend your whole life repeating the same days with different excuses. That's why the wise didn't look for miracles, they looked for rituals. They knew the soul is forged by what you repeat. That direction isn't maintained by force, but by consistency, and that a single conscious gesture at dawn can save you from an entire day of confusion. When you wake, without purpose, you become prey to the noise. But when you wake with direction, you become the master of your energy. That's the difference between those who survive and those who live. One reacts to the world, the other directs it. Every morning is an invisible battlefield. Not against others, but against yourself. Against laziness, distraction, fear, doubt. And those 5 Stoic rituals are your silent weapons. They don't wound, but they protect. They don't destroy, but they strengthen. Each breath you control is a victory. Each silence you hold is a sign of power. Each expression of gratitude is an affirmation of abundance. Each written word is a promise kept. Each conscious thought is a step toward your best self. And if one day you fail, don't regret it. Self-respect isn't lost through a stumble, it's lost when you give up. The wise had gray days too, but they knew that direction isn't recovered by thinking, it's recovered by acting. So when you feel your motivation fading, don't judge yourself. Breathe, give thanks, keep silent, write, choose, return to the beginning. There lies your north. You'll see that respect and clarity don't arrive as rewards, they arrive as consequences. The consequence of starting well, even if the rest of the day isn't. Because when you begin from order, even chaos finds its place, and when you begin from noise, not even the best plan can save you. Your morning is your mirror, and what it reflects will determine what you see at day's end. That's why this message isn't a suggestion, it's a call. A call to return to the beginning, to reclaim the power of simplicity, to remember that everything you're searching for outside already lives within you. You just have to open your eyes with intention, not haste. Respect your dawn. Protect it from noise, from distraction, from laziness. Make your first minutes a sanctuary, not a race. Because if you manage to master your beginning, no ending will ever throw you off balance. And when you open your eyes tomorrow, don't think about what's missing. Think about what you can create with calm. Don't start with complaints, start with direction. Do what the wise did. Honor the new day with presence. Breathe, give thanks, write, and remember who you choose to be. If this message reached you at the right moment, share it with someone who needs it. Because we all know someone who has lost their way, someone who needs a word to wake them. And sometimes a single gesture can change the direction of an entire soul. Make it reach them. Be part of that silent change that begins with a shared truth. And before you go, subscribe. Not to follow me, but to remind yourself that you're not alone on this path. This space is a refuge for those who choose awareness over noise, calm over haste, purpose over distraction. Every word you hear here will be a reminder of what you already are and of what you can become again if you learn to look at yourself with attention. We'll meet again soon. Until then, guard your mornings, because he who conquers his dawn conquers his destiny.